Are you tired of hearing mental health from a superficial view and want to hear about realistic views? Well, you come to the right place, a space where healing is central, but also normalized. Your hosts, Danica and Myra, who are in the mental health field, will explore topics that help promote healing in your everyday life. Through our podcast, you will get the real and the work to focus on your healing. Welcome to Black Women Healing Podcast. So today we have a special guest. Her name is Bianca. And before we introduce you, we like to start off with a discussion question. So My question to you is, why do you think that it is that hobbies are starting to die out? Why is that when you ask people about their hobbies, they're just like, I don't know. Like, I don't really have a hobby. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I'll talk about that because I don't have one. No, I don't. Well, let me say this. I think for me, I've been so focused on my business and building my business and my, being a mental health professional. To me, it's actually a calling. So it doesn't feel like work. So I might be out going to a place or doing something and it's fun, but I'm still technically working.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't have a hobby, because I just love what I do and I find it hard to make a separation. So probably because people are just working a lot, if you're like me.
But you could pick a hobby. What would you pick for your hobby to be?
I would like to. I've always been a dancer, so I'd like to get back into going to dance classes. I think that's what I would do.
Oh, what type of dance do you like to do?
So I used to do a lot of like the street hip hop dancing, and I actually used to be a pole dance instructor.
Nice. That's dope.
Yeah.
That.
So I know most people don't. They're like, what did you do? But yeah, I did that for quite a few years. So I would like to.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. Mm-hmm.
You know what I listen to a lot of people, they'll talk about like their hobbies, but the way they'll talk about it will be in a way that it makes them money. So like if their hobby doesn't really make them money, then they'll be like, I kind of have to drop that hobby, because we kind of live in 2020. It's like, if you're not making money, how are you kind of making ends meet? You don't really have time for fun anymore. Everything is about like hustle and grinding.
I totally feel you. So that's, see, that's what I said. But actually, one of the things I do, like what you guys are doing, is I travel. So, so that's not like an everyday hobby or a weekly or something you do monthly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, if I was to say, that would probably be my biggest thing. I've been traveling since I was, I don't know, maybe 2 or 1. My mom was taking me traveling. So I just
make the thing like I have to travel every few months or something like that. Like, how do you set it up for yourself?
I would. So I am very good at putting in all of the days I'm going to be away a year, like at the end of December. I don't know where I'm going. I just block time off. So yeah, and sometimes it's just a matter of, oh my gosh, I need a break. I need to get out of here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love traveling. I actually just came back from London from home, maybe a week or so ago, and I got to travel first class on the way back. So that was an amazing experience. Nice. Yeah.
I love London. I really love London.
Have you been?
So I did a trip. I went to Paris and then London, and I went to Paris and I wasn't very happy. And then I went to London and I was like, why are the people like this? Like, the people were just so nice. And I'm really into like how the people treat me. And so I was like, I love London. Like, I'll go back anytime, but Paris, I'll probably just pass on that. But London, definitely.
Yeah, Paris people, I've been to Paris a few times, and a lot of people say that you have to get used to them. But other parts of France, excuse me, they're a bit nicer. So
yeah, most definitely.
But yeah, London's cool. But yeah.
Cool. So we're gonna go ahead and get started and introduce our guest. Can you pull up her bio? Yeah. So So today we have Bianca and I'm sorry y'all. So yeah. Bianca specializes in perfectionism, helping people embrace their imperfections and authentically be themselves. She helps clients work through concerns of self-worth, unhealthy relationships, identity, or feeling overwhelmed. Her approach within therapy is direct but open. Meeting clients where they are, providing them freedom to change when they're ready. She believes in empowering and equipping people with skills, tools, and resources they can utilize for life. In addition, her passion to eliminate mental health stigmas, which are prevalent within the Black community, as well as eliminating the gap between Christianity and therapy. Ooh, that's good. Bianca is a licensed professional counselor in Georgia, speaker, authenticity coach, and host of our Authenticity Wednesday podcast. That's dope, Bianca. Wow, you do a lot of stuff.
Thank you. Thanks. I try not to do. I don't think I'm doing anymore. Like, I think the only thing to add is author.
Author.
That's it. I'm done.
Tell us about the author part.
Well, everyone likes to write a book, but I'm actually working on something right now. And it's going to be journal prompts because I find that I'm always telling my clients to journal. It's my number one tool. Mm-hmm. And then I tell them to go to Pinterest, and I got tired of telling them to go to Pinterest. So I figured I'd just make my own.
Yeah. Do you feel like
that's what I'm working on
in therapy?
Yes. Actually, people are always surprised when I tell them to go to Pinterest. They're like, Pinterest? And I'm like, yeah, it's actually really good. It's got some good stuff. So
yeah. So I interviewed for a job, and they were asking me about interventions that I use, and I told them I use Pinterest, and they were like looking at me like, huh? And so I explained it to them. They were like, oh, that makes so much sense. And they were like, we're definitely going to steal that. And I was like, go ahead. Why not? So can you describe how you begin to find your passion in the mental health field, and particularly tell us a little bit about being a licensed professional counselor?
Yeah, so this is definitely a calling for me. And for me, I just really wanted to do what God had called me to do. I did actually work in travel for 10 years. So this is actually a second career. And so there's only so much you can do in travel. And I just really wanted to make a difference in people's lives. I didn't know what. So it probably took a year of like volunteering and prayer and things like that. And I finally realized, also experiencing my own counseling, that this is what I wanted to do. So I was very brave, and I went back to study to get my master's for 2 years, and that's how I got into the field, and I love every minute of it. I love what I do. I love every minute because there's so many different things you can do with it. You don't have to just stay and be a therapist. Like, I have a podcast now, I do coaching, and I do speaking. And so it enables me to bring the mental health aspect into areas where perhaps people wouldn't come into the therapy room.
Yeah, most definitely. So I've been engaged in conversations with people lately, and they've just been talking about trying to figure out what their calling is, what their purpose is. And so I like that you're talking about you found your calling. And so that makes me wonder, were there steps that you took? Were there things that you noticed where you were like, oh my goodness, I think that, this is something I need to be doing? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I always tell people, there's a couple of things I tell people because I actually get that a lot with my clients. Yeah. And so I keep it very simple, and people are like, what? So the first thing is always go back to, what did you do when you were younger? What did you enjoy? What did you dream about? What did people tell you you shouldn't do? Or that's not possible. Go back to that thing and kind of flush it out, write down. Always, like, I cannot explain to people how important it is to just write things down, even if it doesn't make sense, because then you always have something to go back to, because you are going to forget. And so I will always go back, even now when I'm doing stuff, go back to my write-ins. I'm like, oh, I wrote this ages ago. Oh, I could use this now, or this makes sense today. So that's a couple of things. And then the other thing that helped me was I looked at all the things like jobs, I had done interactions and I wrote down what did I enjoy about it.
Mm-hmm.
And from realizing what I enjoyed, I was able to kind of like narrow it down
Yeah.
into, okay, this is what it's going to be like. And I always tell people the job that helped me the most was actually being a pole dance instructor. And
Nice.
even today, like being an instructor has helped me so much, like
Mm-hmm.
speaking and teaching and breaking things down and not being afraid to talk in public and doing things on the fly, empowering people.
Yep.
A lot of it came from that because that was the one job that I was like, oh my God, this is so great. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really cool and super amazing. I think that it's cool to hear about other people finding their path because other people will hear this and be like, oh my goodness, I remember this thing when I was a kid and people told me, no, you can't do that. You won't make any money or that won't make any sense. And then thinking about it later, because I mean, we're in 2020. This is the age where you can do anything and make money and people will flock to you with ease. So I think that's
Mhm.
pretty dope. So, in reading your bio and researching about you a little bit, you talk about a lot about perfectionism. And so
Yes.
I'm wondering, how did you even find your niche in
I always I always have a story to tell. Oh my gosh, I was
that?
like, that's another story. Um, it's funny. I recorded a podcast today, and I was like, man, you tell a lot of stories. So let's see. So this was my thought. So I used to actually do some work with women who have been sex trafficked. I worked in a home as a coach and I did some volunteering.
Okay.
And I always thought about, well, what about the men and boys who've been sex trafficked? So I initially thought that, and this doesn't mean it's not going to happen, that I was going to work with men and boys. I've done so much work with women. I've been in ministry. I've just, like I said, I was a pole dance instructor. So there's a whole bunch of women. And I was like, I'm tired of working with women. I don't want to work with no more women. So that was my idea.
Yeah.
But God had another idea.
Mm.
And it came to me that, no, you need to work with women because you've overcome this perfectionism. Like you're overcoming it. You're so much far ahead and you need to bring those women in and you need to give the tools and you're the one who can recognize it. You're the one who can call it out. You're the one who can give the tools. You're the one who understands the pain and what they're going through. And so I always tell people it's not like I'm perfect. Like I still struggle with perfectionism, but I
Mhm.
know the tools. I know how to
Yeah.
implant help myself in those areas. And so yeah, that's how it came about. And it was easy. The language, spotting it, it was just so easy. It's just like, oh, okay, it makes sense. So that's how that came about.
That's amazing. So from what I'm hearing, you utilize something that like you were kind of struggling with that you worked through, and then you kind of implemented that to working with others.
Yeah. One of the things I've realized that, and I help people sometimes figure that out, is that, especially when it comes with therapists, is that if you want to do a niche, you're probably your client. You're
Mm.
probably your client.
I
What was that? Tell me. What?
So Bianca, one of the it's so funny you say that because one of the things I've been struggling with, especially as I've been going to like private practice, is that I don't have a need.
Mhm.
I don't have one yet. And so like right now I work with everyone. I work with couples, individuals, and I mean my thing is black women and black people, but I don't have one. And I don't know what that is yet, but it's interesting to hear you say that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go back to that pain, that pain, that pain. Go back to that point where you were in pain.
Now mine is making sense to me because I know my niche is like anything teens, no matter what you throw at me. Teenagers. I don't like when it comes to kids, like I can do kids, but that's not my thing.
Mhm.
When it comes to adults, I don't really care to do adults. When it comes to couples, I do teenage couples. So it's like anything with teens. So it could be like a mom and daughter, it could be a dad and a daughter, a dad and a son, whatever. But anything teens, and then now I'm thinking about I'm like, teens is when I struggled the most in life. So now it's all making sense. I'm making
There
that
you
connection.
go.
Yep. That's wild.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
All right, so Bianca.
Yeah. So just keep writing that stuff down.
Most definitely. We're gonna move to the next question. So it says, why do you think people struggle to be freely themselves?
Oh man, that's a loaded question.
Mhm.
That I can that I can give a few answers to what I see. So from my own experience and definitely just thinking about what I see on the couch. Fear of the unknown,
Mhm.
fear of rejection. Our number one desire is to be loved, to be accepted. And so the fear that we will not be accepted if we are who we are, then that stops us from being free. There is that feeling like if you really knew who I was and all the things I do and all the things I think about, I don't think you'd love me. I don't think you'd want to know who I am. Then there's also the fear of being hurt, right? You got to be open. In order to be free, you have to be open and you have to be vulnerable. But you have to make sure you do it in a safe space, in a sacred space where you're going to be honored. And unfortunately, in this day and age, we don't always have that. And so fear is a very, very big thing that stops us from being free. And then also the expectations of society and what they expect us to be and what we've been groomed to be, whether it be from parents, family members, from pictures, from movies, all those images, it could be very foreign to think, oh, I can be something else.
Yeah.
So that's probably the most in a nutshell to break it down, why we struggle.
Most definitely. My next question kind of goes into that, which kind of is because I know you kind of talk about perfectionism a lot. And so, in your own words, can you define perfectionism?
Yeah, it's consistent and exhausting consistent and exhausting cycle of trying to be enough.
Oof. That is
I
really
know.
hard. Can you say it one more time, Bianca?
Yeah, it's a consistent and exhausting cycle of trying to be enough.
Ooh. Where do you think this is probably a question that has like no answer, but I'm just thinking about because I work with girls in high school, and I'm thinking about some of the girls that I work with, and I'm thinking about one girl in particular that I work with. I love her dearly, but she really struggles with perfectionism, and I think I struggle with connecting with her and connecting with like where is this rooted from and like, where do I begin? So I think my question
Mhm.
for you is like, where is it rooted from? If you know, like, where does that? Because I want to
Mm.
identify where it's rooted from
Mhm.
and help her kind of not move along, but help her through it. Because I feel like
Mhm.
now that she's presenting this to me as a teenager, I can help her through this so that when she's an adult, it looks a little bit different. Because I feel like perfectionism is something you're always going to encounter throughout life, yes.
Mm.
But the way
Mhm.
she's experiencing it is so deeply rooted, and I'm like, what? Like, where do I start? So, like, where do you think that's rooted from? I guess is my question.
So it goes back again to the fear of rejection. That's the root. Because in the sense that they probably experienced in some form or some form of way a rejection. They tried something, they opened up, and they were rejected.
Mm-hmm.
That pain was so deep that they don't want to feel it again
Mm-hmm.
because they probably feel like they can't survive or it just will not be okay. So
Mm-hmm.
then you choose the route of, I'm going to be perfect. I'm going to do everything correctly. So then I never have to experience that pain again and that I'm okay with everybody and no one criticizes me, no one judges me. So I'm just going to be perfect because I just cannot absolutely even think about feeling that pain of rejection. So it's a very deep rooted pain. And if we just go back to the fact that we are wired to connect, and so that fear of that disconnection, not being accepted, and being rejected, it's like innate in us. And so once that kind of gets hurt and, you know, poked at, we don't want that to happen again.
Yeah.
So just in regards to that person who has the deep root problem.
Go ahead.
So we are wired to connect. That's just natural. That's innate in us. And so when we are disconnected from people, even disconnected from ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but mostly from people, that's a very deep pain, and it's a very lonely place, and it's a place that we avoid. And so rejection and not being accepted is one of those places we experience disconnection. And that is not good for any human being. And so we protect ourselves from that by being perfect.
That makes a lot of sense, because she literally just texted me the other day, and she won't mind that I tell her that I'm going to share with other people so I can help you out. And so she kind of just texted me the other day, and she kind of was telling me about how she's still struggling with perfectionism. I've been trying to help her with it. I connected her with the mentor, but she was like, I feel like I need to be talking with you about it because you get it more. And so one of the things that she's struggling with, she's like, I feel like I have to be perfect. And now, because I feel like I have to be perfect, I don't have friends. And so I don't know how to connect with people. Like, I feel like a robot. Like, I'm trying to like navigate these relationships, and I'm moving in a robotic way. And the way these people are responding is just like, what are you doing type of thing. And so I'm just curious, like, if you have tips for a young woman or young girls who are like experiencing this, because for her, I know she has this picture of herself where her parents are from Nigeria, so now she's here and she's like trying to be this perfect person because her parents, she's first generation in the States. She wants to have straight A's. She's like president of all these different things, but she really desires friendships. But because she's so used to being perfect in these different areas, she's like, how do I be perfect in a friendship? So like, what like little tips do you have that I can maybe share with her?
And so in regards to trying to be,
Wait, say it one more time.
hello?
Yeah.
In regards to trying to be perfect in a friendship or not be perfect in a friendship?
In regards to being perfect in every area of her life, but trying to maintain a friendship or trying to build a friendship.
Okay. So, well, that's not possible.
Exactly. So, thank you. I just need to hear from somebody else. Thank you.
And going back to that exhausting cycle, right? I would ask the question, here's a very good question. If your life was perfect, what would you do next?
Okay.
And so it begins to make them think about, wait, what? What do you mean? You know, and so now they're looking at, once they finally achieve this goal, then what? And once they begin to write that down and talk about that, they'll reveal some things that you can then kind of help them with a bit more.
Okay, I like that. I like that that question was very simple, but it can lead to a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And you just have to be so patient. You really have to be patient, very compassionate. The fact that they're even admitting that they have a struggle with perfectionism is a step, because why would someone who's trying to be perfect admit that it's a huge step. So so just constantly reassure them and reaffirming them in that.
Bianca, what's your take on perfectionism and its impact on Black women in particular?
Ooh.
I know, right?
So there's two perspectives, because I talk about this. I was talking about it a few times. One is the Black Superwoman syndrome. So that is that trying to do it all, take care of everyone, pay all the bills, be by yourself, don't ask for help. And you're in that, you're not slowing down. It's impacting your physical health, your mental health, your whole peace. There's no space to take care of yourself. And so, you know, you're having this high anxiety, high depression. Now you're drinking more because you're not giving yourself that break, because you've put in this pressure and this high achieving expectation to be this, I don't know, better than Black woman. And so that's one way that I see Black women struggling with perfectionism. The other way is for Christian women, Black Christian women, and that's the Proverbs 31 woman. And so that woman is got a mix in with the Black superwoman, and then on top of it, it's this Proverbs 31 that's got to be this perfect woman, perfect wife, and all these things. And she doesn't really like exist. It's more of a guide. And so those are two different ways that for Black women, I see the pressure and the perfectionism coming up. Unrealistic expectations, basically.
Yeah, I like that. I love talking about Black women and superwoman syndrome in general, because I always refer to myself as superwoman, but I do it and I say it in a point where, like, for example, at work the other day, I was just like, I have two sides to me. I'm superwoman and I'm Myra, but superwoman has to be let go sometime so that I can zone in on Myra, because Myra is not superwoman. Myra has weaknesses. Myra has flaws. And my coworker was just like, what? And I was like, she was so confused. She was like, you have two sides? And I was like, you don't understand because you're not Black. So, like, we laughed about it. But I just love talking about it because I think, like, something I'm trying to do in 2020 is know that I can rely on other people. So I think about myself as, like, I've always lived a life of, like, even as a child, like, I didn't depend on people. I didn't depend on my parents. Even now, like, my parents, I don't really depend on them. I figure it out as I go. Like, I got this. And that's always been my thing. Like, I got this. But then at the end of 2019, I was just like, I don't got this. Like, I'm breaking. I'm falling, I'm depressed, I'm sad, like, I can't do this on my own. And so it got to a point where I was just like, you cannot always be superwoman. And superwoman, I think to truly be superwoman is to show your weaknesses and lean on others. And so that's when I was just like, you can't, like, be perfect all the time. You have to realize that leaning on other people is okay, and leaning on other people shows that you're strong. So I just love engaging in this conversation in general, because I need other women to realize, like, we break, we bend, and that's okay. Like, it's completely fine. So I'm happy that you
I love that, because actually that's my probably one of the biggest things I talk about, is that for Black women and in general, and overcoming the perfectionism, you definitely have to learn to ask for help. Asking for help saved my life.
Yes, me too.
And now I will not stop asking for help.
Seriously.
Like, I will, even if I have to pay for help, I will pay for help, because I cannot do it. Or in order for me to function, like, you know, anything that you see me doing, any of the work I'm doing, I never did this on my own. I asked people, I got help, I have support, I have coaches, I have a therapist. You know, I have friends. I know there is no way, like, and one of the things this year, definitely with my business, is focusing more on asking for help and paying for help. I want to get it to the point that I'm only doing the things that only I need to do. Like, that's the point you really need to get if you're in private practice or you have your own business, is that you are only doing the things that only you can do and no one else can do.
I hope y'all are listening, because what Bianca is saying is, like, the truth. You're laughing, but, like, I mean, it's the truth, because all the things that you're saying you realize for your business are things I realize for my personal life. And I feel like if other women, people in general, realize this for their personal life, you'll be so much happier. Because I feel like once I started saying, because when my friends would ask me, like, how are you doing today, I will go that automatically good. But then once my friends started asking how I was doing and I couldn't take it anymore, I was just like, I'm depressed. And so they would ask me, like, what's going on? And I would just tell them, because it got to a point where it's like, I need to tell somebody what's going on with me and to let go of that heavy load. I mean, it relieves so much. So I'm appreciating that.
Yes. I love it.
So I want to kind of ask you a little bit about, like, how perfectionism impacts other aspects of life. So when what can one do when they're being themselves causes them to lose their jobs, friends, and other basic living necessities? Kind of thinking about, like, how, let's say, for example, like, I'm really struggling with perfectionism and it might impact different areas of my life. what can I do to kind of like help myself out?
First of all, you got to admit that you need help.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a problem. And that, you know, you have to be willing to make changes, because if you're not willing to make changes, then it's not going to work. Like, and when I say willing to make changes, like you're not doing it just so you can get back those basic stuff that you want to get back that stuff, but you're operating in a different mindset. And so that's going to be my first thought. And then just, you know, do things like ask other people, what are you doing? Do you see a therapist? Google, go on Instagram. My brother said this the other day. I have a brother. He's, because we're about 12 years apart, which I love because he's a true millennial.
Or me and my brother.
And he said to, and he said to me, he was like, you know, Bianca, like YouTube is university. It's like university. I was like, oh my God. Yeah. It's like you can find everything on YouTube. And so I want to say to that person, like, Google it, go on YouTube, and then find the resources that work for you. There's Instagram, hashtag it. There is no way in this day and age that you cannot find resources. You just have to be willing to raise your hand and be vulnerable and take that risk and say, I need help. So that is what I would say, because if you are not willing to be vulnerable and ask for help, then it doesn't matter. It's not going to happen. You're not going to look for the resources. And if you're hungry enough, you will find them.
Yeah. I like how you're talking about, like, because when I think about resources, I'm that person. I'm quick to talk about the free things, but other people are not always as quick to talk about the free things. And I like how you're talking about, like, YouTube, that's free. Ask people, that's free.
Library.
Like all free things, because I really appreciate that, because not everybody has access to all these other things that might cost money. But I mean, YouTube is completely free. And my dad always jokes and says, like, if I can't figure it out for you and I'm your go-to person, I'll figure it out through YouTube. So that's like our ongoing joke. So I like hearing other people say, like, just go to YouTube, like, figure it out. Because I feel like therapy is great, but what are we giving to our clients to utilize outside of therapy? What are we telling them that they can do? I always tell my clients, utilize Pinterest. Come on, like, Pinterest has so many different things. So I'm a YouTube piece.
Yeah, because that's, you know, like I was saying, like it says in the bio, like, I'm going to give you tools and resources so you don't have to rely on me. Like, literally, you can ask any of my clients. Like, I tried to get rid of them. They're like, no, we need to stay with you in maintenance. I'm like, no, you need to figure this out. But they do. They eventually do. Like, when they don't, yes, you do. You know, I will hold your hand, but only for a certain amount of time. You have to be willing to do the work. Like, as well, like I always tell clients, I'm absolutely not working harder than you. No way. I'm not working harder than you. It's not my life. I'm not with you all the time.
I definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, and the reason why I brought up the question is because I think you hear sometimes people who are having problems in like their jobs and everyday life, they'll be like, well, I'm being myself. This is who I am. You're going to accept it. Right? And then, but they're not able to get friends. They're not able to keep a job. And so then that's when it is looking within yourself. Well, you are being yourself, but it's something going on there. Right?
Right. Exactly. If you have to be honest, be like, yeah, okay, you maybe you are being yourself. Maybe they are right. But being yourself is maybe not healthy at this time. And so, you know, I remember talking to someone and they said that they were realizing that they didn't have good relationships, kind of what you're saying, and that people weren't always talking to them, or they couldn't keep jobs. And they eventually figured out, okay, something's wrong with me. I have to find out help. And they eventually realized that they have ADHD.
ADHD?
Just, sorry?
I said they're an adult.
Yeah. I'm actually finding that a lot now, actually, that a lot of people are not realizing they have ADHD until they're an adult. Yeah, a lot of it goes undiagnosed.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for sharing.
So, yeah.
I know you kind of shared in different ways over the times we've been talking, but what are some of the tools that you give your clients or our audience to work on their healing outside of therapy?
Yeah, so, and I know you guys asked for some little homework. So I do on my website. So my number one tool, like I said, is journaling. And on my website, I do have a freebie, well, a couple of freebies. I have some affirmations, which I think is good and helpful. And then I also have a journaling prompts, and they are on perfectionism and then boundaries. And so my number one tool is to journal, but people get stuck. So I do have journaling prompts that people can use. Of course, self-care. Now, when I talk about self-care, I'm not talking about getting your nails done. I'm talking about how many hours are you sleeping?
Mm.
How many hours are you spending working? What is your budget like?
Mm-hmm.
Are you taking care of your finances?
Mm-hmm.
Who are you interacting with? Are they people that are healthy or unhealthy?
Yeah.
And so we're just looking at that everyday stuff, as well as the big stuff like travel and hobbies and things like that. But I think sometimes we just forget about the everyday stuff that help us. And so if you're trying to be perfect, like you're not focusing on you and connecting with you. And so once you're doing self-care, that helps you to begin to connect back to yourself, because it's all about identity with perfectionism. And that's a sense of I am enough. So, it's the opposite of I feel like I'm never enough, to the point of, wait, I am enough. I may not be perfect, but I'm enough. So that's why, on my website, I have the tagline, "Basically be you."
Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing, like I said, asking for help, learning to ask for help, and resting and being compassionate. So self-compassion. Yeah. So those are a couple of the tools.
Can you go into a little bit about what self-compassion is?
Yeah. So self-compassion, I say, is antidote, one of the antidotes to perfectionism. So when we think about compassion, we think about someone suffering, someone in pain, so a friend in pain. And so when a friend's in pain, we tend to reach out and ask them, are you okay? What do you need? We tell them to slow down. We tell them, this is a rough time. Take care of yourself. Like, don't be so harsh, right? But when we suffer and we're in pain, we tend to be like, you got to get it together. This is not okay. And we're very harsh and critical. So self-compassion is giving yourself the same compassion you would give a friend. You're like, okay, this is a rough time. Like, it's like, act of self-compassion, and recognizing that I'm in pain. So that would be a simple. I like to say it's initially, it's really becoming your own best friend.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Bianca, for sharing some of those tools. We can't wait to one, have the post to share with our audience, but also when they listen to this, I think it's going to be super, super helpful.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, I think you pointed out some really good points for people who might be even struggling with perfectionism and don't even know. So I'm hoping that they hear this and they're realizing, you also dropped some good resources for them to kind of check out that are free to find out therapy. So I'm really appreciative of you and the work that you do.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. You're doing an awesome job too.
Okay, and last but not least, it's not a question, but it's also about kind of you talking about the Christianity piece. We most definitely need to have an episode on that. So I really appreciate you touching on
that. So you're asking me to touch on it real quick?
We want you to come back and have a full episode.
Oh yeah, you know what? You're right. I will need to come back and do a full episode, because that's a whole that's a whole nother piece. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. It's a whole nother piece, but at least we're touching on it, and we're gonna plan for it because it's most definitely needed.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd definitely love to come and talk on that.
Well, Bianca, we want to thank you so much for taking the time out your day to talk with us and to come and share your knowledge. It's very valuable, and we're very appreciative for us gaining this new knowledge and also our listeners, because I feel like this is one of my favorite episodes. I feel like this is probably one of my favorites, so I'm very appreciative.
You're just saying that.
I'm definitely not. I don't lie.
Okay, thank you.
Never said that. She's never said
Really?
that. No.
Oh,
And your voice is
thank you.
Your voice is soothing too.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Oh, thank you, ladies. I really appreciate that. That means a lot to me. So I can't wait for it to come out, and I'll definitely be sharing this.
Yeah. And we'll contact you
right.
Again for the other episodes. So thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
All right, y'all. I hope that you like our speaker. I mean, I loved it. It was freaking amazing. And so there's a book I've been reading. It's by Cleo Wade. She's amazing. She puts out different books, and it kind of has a mix of poetry with a mix of like kind of talking to your friend, little excerpts. But this book I'm reading is called Heart Talk. And so I just want to share a little passage with you all. And it talks about connection and comparison. So it says, we are here to connect, not compare. There is a reason why we are not in this world alone. It is because we are all connected and need each other to function peacefully, purposefully, and powerfully. We cannot know happiness or true power if we are constantly in a state of comparison and competition. Comparison and extreme competition run on insecurities and the belief in scarcity, which inevitably isolates us from one another. Competition believes there is one pie, and when someone else takes a piece of it, there is less for others. Our higher self knows that there is no pie. Connection rejects the idea of competing for anyone, things, runs, instead on gratitude and abundance, which weaves us more deeply into each other's lives so that we may better support each other in the world. Connection knows that everything we accomplish in life is much more fulfilling when we help others along the way. Don't let the spirit of comparison and competition take you somewhere fast when the spirit of collaboration can take you someplace far instead. And this just makes me think about like the work I do with my community and how I kind of crave the desire to connect with others and push them up higher, and how connecting with others and pushing those others into higher places and just helping them get to where they want to be has been fulfilling, rather than comparing myself to, oh, I'm not there, oh, I'm not doing this. That's not even a thought because I'm too busy on connecting with others. And so before I hand it over to Danica, I just wanted to share that we will be doing a workshop in DC. It's going to be April 4th. We're not sure of the time just yet, specifically in Landover, Maryland, and we're going to be talking about communication for daughters. And so we're just going to give you like little tips and tricks on better ways to communicate with your mom if you are a daughter. We'll share our personal experiences. It'll be very interactive. We don't like that lecture style type of stuff. So we're super excited for that. If you're in the DC area, feel free to check it out. And once again, we are having our Black Women's Healing Circles in both LA and San Diego. Feel free to check them out for full details in our Instagram bio. And that's all I got for y'all this week. What you got, Danica?
You said my part.
How I say your part? What you mean?
She said my part, y'all.
You ain't got nothing to share.
No, my part was the events. Mine was talking about all the events. But so basically, like she's saying, like I was going to talk about the circles. Y'all know I'm excited about us going to different cities and being able to share Black Women's Healing Podcast, in particular with cities, and making it more personal. So I just want y'all to come out for that. Yeah, so go ahead and buy the tickets. If you haven't followed us, please follow us at on Instagram at BWH_pod, POD. And also on Facebook. And then also, y'all, when y'all listen, whatever platform you listen on, SoundCloud, Spotify, we're on like everything. Make sure you go ahead and like it and subscribe and leave a comment if you want to, because it helps us to know what y'all want. Y'all can even leave a comment and say, hey, we want to talk about the sky. And, you know, we want to communicate with y'all, and we want to give y'all content that y'all want to listen to as well as us. So, definitely interact with us.
So our guest today, Bianca, was kind of talking about journals and journal prompts. And so Target is doing specifically little stations for African, what am I talking about? Black History Month. My bad, y'all. African American. Why do I keep saying that? I want to say African American History Month so bad. Black History Month. And so they have books, candles made by Black folks. They have shirts geared towards Black folks. They have like albums you can buy. Like I said, books, movies, anything you could think of. Whatever is made by Black people that's in Target, they put it all in one section. Hair products, all that. And so I was in there and I was like, let me see what they got. And so I ended up buying this journal, and the journal says on the front, Dream, Believe, Achieve. And it's made by Taria and Kiki K. It's mainly Kiki K. So you can go on Kiki K, KIKKI-K.com, and you can buy this book. And the book is for helping you find your purpose. And so the proceeds of this book actually go to Oprah School in Africa. So I was like, what are the odds? Like, I always get aligned with my purpose, which is helping girls in schools. So I thought that was really dope. And so this book just has little journal prompts in it. It has quotes to keep you pushing along. It's a very interactive book. I love it. I haven't read anything in it because I've kind of just been like reading through it. So feel free to check that out. And I hope that y'all enjoyed today's podcast. Look forward to chatting with y'all. Please be more interactive in our comments. Give us a thumbs up, a like. Give us a thumbs down even too. Let us know what we're doing wrong that you want us to see, or let us know what we can work on. We're open to any type of feedback. So we look forward to chatting with y'all again next week. Bye.